Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In case you have not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe it. It is gonna help you to get all the notifications when I upload a new video. Today's video we are going to talk about Azure Data Explorer, one of the managed services service that is provided by Microsoft Azure, and it's being provided for big data analytics, high volumes of real-time data ingestion, and then making some trends and insights about that data. So we'll discuss about what this service is all about, and even we'll see how you could sign it up. This is a free service. You have a free tier also. You could sign it up and then go from there. Now, the first part is what is an Azure Data Explorer service. So now it's purely a managed high performance service, secure and robust. It can be used for big data analytics platform. It is enterprise ready. Analyze high volumes of data in the near real time. You could have, let's say, data coming from IoTs or other devices. You could analyze those high volumes of data. And it's an end-to-end solution for data ingestion, query, visualization, and management. I think so every business would need these things. One is the ingestion, the querying, the visualization part, and the management of the same. So that's what any enterprise would require in terms of data. And it can deal with structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data across time series. With machine learning, it's simple to extract key insights, spot patterns, trends, and create forecasting models. We could use Azure Data Explorer with that. And it's used for general purpose exploratory analytics. So technically it's a analytics service, enterprise ready, fully managed, has a free tier, and that's what the Azure Data Explorer does. Now, when we should use an Azure Data Explorer? The Azure Data Explorer should be used if we have an interactive analytics, like where you want aggregation, correlations, or anomaly detections. The three V's, which are like for any big data: variety, velocity, and volume. That's one of the main important parameters to use Azure Data Explorer service. Is our schema diverse? Do we need to ingest massive amounts of data in near real time? And data organization, like you want to have analyze raw data because you are not fully ready with your star schemas or anything. So probably that is one of the another use case for the Azure Data Explorer service. And query in the concurrency mode, which allow multiple users or processes to use Data Explorer. So that would be, I would say, the base criteria where you could actually leverage this Azure Data Explorer service. Now, this is a typical architecture flow of Azure Data Explorer service. So if you see, there is a user around here. The user actually manages the resource management through the Azure portal. That's one. And then it could actually do the ingestion of the data through like different things, whether it is Azure Blob or Event Hubs, Azure Queue, IoT Hubs, or Event Grids. There are a variety of services from where you could get the near real-time data. That's what you could use. The data management part of the Azure Data Explorer service actually helps you to manage and create those resources and everything. Technically, it's a kind of a cluster which is running at the background. We are just like it is an abstract stuff for us. You just get an interface to work on and analyze the high volumes of data. And then of course there is an engine out there where you run your queries, commands, query your database, and do some analytics on the top of that. So that's one of the things. And one of the key things out in the Azure Data Explorer is it introduces a new language called as Custo query language. That what we'll be studying in the coming videos because it helps you to purely, it's an open source kind of a language that helps you to manipulate your queries and everything and work with your actually data engine to work with your databases or cluster. The Azure Data Explorer workflow is typically divided into 4 parts. One, you have a create database. The database is typically a part of the cluster. Initially you create a cluster, and then you could create databases out there. You could create multiple databases. Each Explorer cluster can hold 10,000 databases, and each database could hold 10,000 tables. And the data in each table is stored in the form of a shards. Like if you know about sharding or partitioning, you could deal with that. And it is also known as extents in the Azure Data Explorer. The second part is the ingestion of the data, loading the data into the database tables so that we could actually start using it, querying it. And then query the database is the third part, where you would use custom query language, which is expressive, intuitive, and highly productive query language. Is something a little bit different from SQL, but we'll evaluate in the coming times. And of course, if you have the data, if you have the all the real-time data or the data that has been batch processed or anything, the end of the the goal of any business organization is to visualize your results. You want to study the patterns, the insights, or anything. So for that, Azure Data Explorer provide you certain dashboards. You could even connect it through the visualization services, either via Power BI, or you could use it ODBC or JDBC connector ports to connect it to the Tableau. So that's what it is all about. And in order to get started with the Data Explorer, you need to sign it up. This is the link. I'll post this link in the description also of the video so that you could directly use it. So dataexplorer.azure.com free cluster. You could have a upgraded cluster also, which is paid and offers you more services. But in order to learn for that, you could just go for the free cluster. So that's what the Azure Data Explorer service is all about. And let's get kind of have a little bit hands-on, go to this URL and see how we could actually start using that. So let's see, friends, how we could actually use the Data Explorer. And if I type the dataexplorer.azure.com, because I've already worked with that, so it just gets the suggested sites or already visited sites. So when I press enter, it would actually get me through the public free cluster, which we could set it up. We could set up a cluster display name, a database name, because every cluster would have a kind of a multiple databases into that. And there are certain kind of cluster locations which you could set, because it's a new service, relatively new. So there are not much locations onto that. But if you see, I've not signed in. So I just want to firstly skip and sign in. And when I say skip and sign in, because I'm already signed in with my Hotmail account, which I use for the Azure portal also, so probably it would get me signed around and it would actually present me the dataexplorer.azure.com. So if I see, this is an Azure Data Explorer, and on my left hand side there's a navigation window, and if I click on the my cluster, so I have a RKV cluster, which is a free cluster, and it gives me an option to upgrade to an Azure cluster, delete it. Of course, if I delete it, I have an option to create a new cluster. You could create that. It does provide you data ingestion URIs or cluster URIs, which you could copy and then paste it around there. Now, if you see, I don't have databases around here, so you could create a databases in this, which we'll discuss in the next video. We'll create that database and start ingesting some data. But that's how you could start using this service free of cost, free tier, and then you could use the big analytics or big data at a scale through a purely managed service. I hope, guys, this video is gonna help you out in understanding what Azure Data Explorer service is all about and why we could utilize it. It's a purely a managed service. Organizations which don't want to go in for in-house development of a big data analytic platform, they could utilize this free service just in order to do a POCs or see how it actually effectively works. And in fact, the Azure Data Explorer service is very seamlessly integrating with the other Azure services, might be an app service or Azure SQL database or Azure Blob service, which will be covering in the coming videos. So I hope, guys, this is gonna help you around in getting a kickstart to the Azure Data Explorer service. I'll be coming up with more videos, so please stay tuned and please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.